Here today before us. We waited for over 1.5 hours and the minister didn't show up, so we contacted the lawyer who she sent to represent her the last time, and the lawyer told us he had not received any instructions to represent her, so he could not appear before the committee.
He said the committee would not continue to give the minister more time, yet they're constrained to work within 15 days and report back to the House. Until the report is released, the committee is to continue examining the evidence and proceed without any input from the accused minister.
The minister is not the only minister in the Ministry of Lands, so such a controversial issue she should have attended, and we had also coopted the Prime Minister in, so I don't think that would have been an excuse. She's the one who requested for more time, and we gave her the time.
While interacting with the minister's lawyer, who never presented his instructions to act on her behalf, he declined to commit to the members on the appearance of the minister today.
It's not my decision to take. Now, on the basis of that response, the grant now forms an opinion on whether to appear or otherwise. But for now, I would be acting outside instructions.
Mpande Norman last week told the committee that they are expecting the Speaker and the Attorney General to respond to the petition filed by Namuganza over sub judice. The accused also told the committee that the time being given to her is not enough to offer justice.
We're going to start evaluating the evidence effective today to see which evidence is admissible and which one is not. And after then, we shall establish which one has a prima facie case. And this will take place between today afternoon up to Wednesday. On Thursday, we shall prepare a report, and on Friday, we shall hand over the report.
The committee is now left with 3 days to report back to the Speaker on finalizing the establishment of whether the evidence adduced amounts to a prima facie case. The report is expected to be tabled before Parliament next week for debate and vote if necessitated.
Justice Harrod is Justice Barrett. That is my submission.
Now, the Uganda Police Force is concerned that of the 2.9 trillion shillings budget they represented to the Ministry of Finance, at least 823.7 billion shillings has been provided, something that they say may affect the operations of the Uganda Police. Now, this was disclosed to the Defence and Internal Affairs Committee at Parliament, where Uganda Police presented its financial year budget for 2023-2024.
Honourable Chair and Honourable Members.
The State Minister for Internal Affairs, General David Muhoozi, led a team of officials from the Uganda Police Force, Uganda Prison Services, Immigration Department to provide the breakdown of their budget framework paper for the financial year 2023-2024.
I wish to note that the national security has improved and the general crime rate has reduced from...
First was the Uganda Police Force that presented a budget framework paper of 2.9 billion shillings for the financial year 2023-2024. The breakdown was presented by the Undersecretary of Uganda Police Force, Aggrey Wunyi.
We also plan to recruit 2,500 staff.
According to Wunyi, Uganda Police Force needs 447.5 billion shillings for the General Administration Support Services, 141.7 billion shillings for crime prevention and investigation management, 168 billion shillings for the territorial policing, and 66.1 billion shillings for emergency response and specialized policing. 126.7 billion shillings is needed for improving training schools facilities for Uganda Police, 24.2 billion shillings for the renovation of existing barracks, 70 billion shillings for construction of uniports, and 87.9 billion shillings for the construction of new staff units, and 20 billion shillings for the construction of the Police National Hospital.
Construction of the police hospital requires 20 billion. We only have 5, leaving a shortfall of 15 billion. We want to start with 30 model sub-county police stations. This will require 7.5 billion. 4.5 is provided, leaving a shortfall of 3.
Wunyi also noted that in the new budget, Uganda Police Force will need 54 billion shillings for police uniforms and worn suits, 91.2 billion shillings for feeding police officers during operations, 20 billion shillings for fire emergency and rescue services, and 70 billion shillings for radio communication system.
Feeding in operations, Honourable Chair, this is one of our areas for persistent supplementary. We require 91 billion, only 60 is provided. leaving a shortfall of 31.
Uganda Police Force is also requesting for 74.4 billion shillings for the automation and integration of the Uganda Police Force, 121 billion shillings for oil and gas protection security, 187 billion shillings for procurement of 332 CCTV cameras to be installed in Kampala Metropolitan, and 2,446 CCTV cameras that will be installed in the 10 new cities.
We are trying to make a case for phase 3 to cover the gaps in Kempi and the rural areas which are not covered by CCTV. Then construction and equipping of regional forensics referral center at Naguru, and expand K9 to 29 districts.
94.4 billion shillings has been budgeted for addressing cattle rustling in Karamoja sub-region, 12.8 billion shillings for the management of exhibits, 28.4 billion shillings for detection and neutralization of terror threats. In the new budget of Uganda Police Force, 5 billion shillings has been budgeted for the new furniture, 79.2 billion shillings for acquisition of new fleet of patrols for all districts, troop carriers and motorcycles. 8.7 billion shillings has been budgeted for maintenance of police aircrafts, and 39 billion shillings for repair and maintenance of police fleet, among others.
Each sub-county is expected to have at least a pickup and 2 motorcycles. And this is the budget which has been cut under capital development.
The patrol vehicles, we last bought them almost 7 years ago. They are now not in very good shape.
However, the issue of salary enhancement of police officers generated a serious debate among legislators in the committee.
So, what percentage of the budget that you are proposing this year is going to CID? For me, that is my passionate now.
Madam Chair, I don't think it is the best to take the police the way they are. They need assistance, Madam Chair.
Alex Mugasha, Sam Iwanda Mugabi, NBS, Sunrise.
More to the stories, economists have warned the possible new scramble for Africa as world powers continue to eye Africa for economic and other selfish motives by drawing African leaders to attend summit organized in respective countries. Now this after African leaders, including President Yoweri Museveni of Uganda, are invited to the Middle East weeks after they returned from US-Africa summit.
Of late, African leaders have been invited to global summits organized by world powers to deliberate on the number of issues, including climate and economic concerns. Among the summits is a December 2022 US-Africa summit that drew many African leaders, and now the global summit organized by the United Arab Emirates, in which some African leaders, including Uganda's Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, has been in attendance. These summits have left many wondering what could be driving the world powers to Africa.
Most of them face a legitimacy, credibility in their countries. They think by being seen at the international stage, it can be a booster of their legitimacy back home.
And also you have to note that the economic boom or trend keeps on shifting. For example, in the 18th and 19th century, we had it in North America and Europe. Now we've had it in China and India. Now the next is going to be Africa. That's why most of the tech companies are now coming to Africa.
These summits have left many wondering what could be driving the world powers to Africa.
We have fully liberalized our economies and left it in the hands of the forces of the forces of demand and supply, and we have little or less government intervention. So these external forces find it is actually to penetrate, into Africa.
There is a new scramble for influence, for Africa's resources, for Africa, especially raw materials, and Africa is at the center of having the most untapped arable land, the most untapped mineral resources.
You go ahead to look at things, for example, when you look at Uganda, we have expensive, ineffective, and unnecessary investment incentives.
These advise that for Africa to reverse the status quo and start benefiting from the summits, It has to deploy a common strategy and plan alongside speaking with a common voice.
For example, between 2010 and 2010 and 2016, do you know that over 325 embassies have been opened in Africa? This is the biggest diplomatic or embassy building boom that has ever happened anywhere.
But we don't see any deliberate attempts to promote our own local and domestic products. You saw during the expo, what we are showcasing, we are hardly a quarter of products representing the Ugandan market.
However, some express worry that some African leaders are driven by small handouts given out at such conferences alongside consolidating their stay in power.
This time, it is actually Africa that should be actually inviting these external forces, meaning that by the time you're inviting them, you've prepared yourself, you have a plan, as a continent. Do you have a single strategy? Have you worked on institutional capacity to actually respond to these external forces that are coming?
What we are only wondering is, in terms of the political negotiation and bargain, why don't we have an economic bargain? Why aren't we getting results? It might be the lack of goodwill on our country to negotiate better.
No, they are there to beg, and then sometimes to ask for commissions and to be part of to play their role as agents of colonialists.
Linda Ndumwami, Julius Chitone, NBS, Sunrise.
Now, some opposition political parties have been accused of advancing self-interests ahead of the national interest. This, as seemingly political contestation continues to grow from within the opposition political parties, with internal bickering and infights taking center stage from within.
Opposition continues to accuse the NRM of deliberately weakening them by frustrating opposition activism. Within the opposition itself, there are silent obstacles that threaten to pull down the once vibrant political establishment. Those close to this establishment say there is serious political contestation within the opposition, which is marred with internal bickering, disgruntlement and infights.
These our leaders from Busoga sub-region have for quite a bit of time been fighting, and fights can happen. Siblings fight, even married people fight, but you make up, you get moving. But you see, for these ones, it has gotten worse. The fights are on social media, at functions in the area, and so on.
Opposition stronghold, the National Unity Platform is one of those going through some difficult times, with the recent suspension of the Busoga sub-region leadership and the latest recruits from the Forum for Democratic Change. This has now left many wondering whether NRM should continue to be blamed for the opposition woes, since individual parties within the bloc are now going for each other's members.
Every political party operates as it deems fit, has got its own activities and so on. Then we see where we can connect. I don't think this affects the unity of the forces of change. It is unity of forces of change, not unity of political parties.
The forces of change once again failing to unite. NUP party spokesperson Joel Senyu says it's a conversation they have not openly had.
In all our meetings, one of the things we have not discussed is entry of members into a political party. Otherwise, if we had discussed it and said, let's stop the recruitments or don't allow people from this political party to join a political party and so on, then there would be a ground. That's not something we have discussed.
Now, political analysts say the debate on opposition competition is diversionary, calling for collective citizen organization.
They are weakening what we call citizenship. Conversation is irrelevant in a situation where an NRM guy, a DP guy, a NUP guy, an FDC guy, a Catholic, an Anglican, an Adventist, a Munyankole, a Muganda, a Mutor, all of you go to broken healthcare infrastructure. All of you will take your kids to a collapsing education system. All of you drive on collapsed roads. So it doesn't matter.
Political analyst Godba Tumshabe says, given the current political circumstances, the opposition is maneuvering for survival. But with all the hardships the opposition is undergoing, shouldn't they be harmonizing rather than antagonizing?
The future of Uganda that we desire as a generation cannot be delivered through an election. The elections under NRM and Museveni, as we know them, cannot deliver the future. And the sooner we recognize that, the better. In other words, elections in this country can only be used to achieve a different objective.
Opposition strongman, retired Colonel Kizza Besigye, admits that the opposition has elements of selfishness.
We have a challenge of many would-be leaders, elites, pursuing, yes, maybe national interests, but their main focus being on how they advance their personal careers and personal, advancement.
Besigye attributes this to the undemocratic political environment that has left even the opposition confused. He, however, says some of these are jumping from one frying pan to the fire, and it's bound to catch up.
Where you have no freedom of speech, no freedom of association, no freedom of movement, no. Parties are a joke if they think they can thrive in that environment. So what must be done in this kind of environment that is clear to everybody is not to promote partisanship. It should be to promote unity of those seeking freedom for parties to survive.
Victoria Bagaya, NBS, Sunrise.
Now more to the story's mystery still surrounds the cause of fire that led to the death of a couple in an inferno in Nabweru, Kawempe division. Now 3 days later, police are still conducting investigations while the host couple remains in custody. Karen Mugume visited the scene and constructs what exactly could have happened at the time. We have that report.
Last week on Friday afternoon at about 1 p.m, a couple, Patricia and Kajumba, visited their friend, Ewan Kaitesi Susan, at her apartment in Jinjakaroli, Kawempe Zone A ward. This one-bedroomed apartment is where the three were meeting. At about 3 p.m, a plume of smoke started coming out of the bedroom window, according to the Defense Secretary of the area.
Omuliro gwali mungi nnyo oba gwatuka okuba nti gwokya ne guyitamu paka waggulu ne gutuuka n'okwokya olugogo lw'amazzi waggulu wasemba. Then ekitegeeza nti omuliro gwali gw'amaanyi era abamu ku baasooka okugulaba bawulira kibwatuka ku ddinisa eryo.
By the time he got here, police's fire brigade team was trying to put out the fire. Residents then quickly rushed to save the people inside, and this is where they found Kaitesi Susan in the living room, who told them that her two visitors were trapped in the bedroom.
Omuliro gwakwata mu kisenge ate nga mu kisenge abatuuze baali beesibiddemu okusinziira ku bakeera abatuukirawo ddala basookawo balaga nti oluggi bamenya na lumenye.
Residents tried to break into the bedroom, but the door was locked, thus becoming unsuccessful. The fire raged on until police fire brigade team put it out, but it was too late. The couple had been burnt to death to a point that the residents could hardly identify them.
Kubanga okutuuka okwokya omuntu n'atafuna na gaapu ereekaana tebaye munyambe abantu basobole okuwulira bali ebweru tekyaliwo.
Susan was rushed to hospital, but was followed by police officers to probe her about the incident. At first, she claimed that the cause of fire was a gas explosion, but we have since found out that this is not true.
One thing is still unclear about the source of the fire, as much as it is still out there on social media that it could have broke out from the gas cylinder. The gas cylinder is actually here and it was found intact by eyewitnesses, and yet there's not much evidence to show that the fire could have started from electrical wires.
Police say its forensic team has visited the scene and picked evidence, and the matter is still under investigations.
So her statement is not correlating. We wonder how two adults during the day die from an inferno, and there are a lot of allegations surrounding the whole issue of infidelity and all that.
One of the strange questions lingering in the minds of the residents is why was the bedroom door locked when the fire started? Why was there no alarm made for help? How did the two end up in the bedroom before the door was locked? Questions only the suspect can provide answers to. Kanarim Gume, NBS.
That report takes us to a very short commercial break. Return shortly with more stories.